The day I realized my husband wanted me gone forever was not the day he walked out the front door with a suitcase in his hand, but the moment he smiled at me, while I struggled to breathe and calmly wished me luck before disappearing, without a trace as I listened to the engine of his luxury SUV fade into the distance. I truly believed those few seconds would be the final moments of my life, because the one person I trusted more than anyone had carefully planned to leave me helpless and completely alone. My name is Evelyn Carter, and just a year earlier my life looked like something people only dreamed about, filled with success, wealth, and what seemed to be a loving marriage built on loyalty and trust. Behind that perfect image, however, was a painful secret that nobody outside our home knew, because I had been fighting a rare autoimmune disease that required an expensive experimental treatment every single day if I wanted any chance of surviving. Most people believed my husband, Ryan Carter, had built our successful technology company through years of hard work and brilliant leadership, but the truth was very different because I had founded the business long before I met him and later handed him the position of chief executive so he could feel respected by his family. I never cared about titles or public recognition, and I thought sacrificing my own spotlight for the happiness of the man I loved would strengthen our marriage. Instead of becoming the biggest mistake of my entire life, during the weeks before everything collapsed, Ryan slowly changed into someone I barely recognized, becoming cold, impatient, and strangely interested in asking detailed questions about my finances, insurance policies, and legal documents instead of asking about my health. His mother, Linda, and his younger sister, Ashley, encouraged his behavior every chance they got, treating me like an inconvenience while openly talking about luxury vacations, expensive shopping trips, and the wonderful future they believed was waiting just around the corner. On a freezing winter morning, I could barely lift my head from the pillow as laughter echoed through our beautiful lakefront house while Ryan and his family excitedly loaded designer suitcases into waiting cars for a month-long European vacation, leaving me completely dependent on medication that only I knew how desperately I needed. When I quietly begged Ryan to bring me my medicine before leaving, he looked directly into my eyes with an expression colder than the snow outside and replied that I worried too much, never realizing that his cruel smile would become the beginning of a nightmare that would change every one of our lives forever. Ryan slowly walked toward the kitchen cabinet where I always kept my medication, and for one hopeful second I believed he had finally remembered the promises he made on our wedding day and decided to help me before leaving. Instead, he gathered every bottle into his hands, carried them to the trash can and dumped them inside without the slightest hesitation before turning back to me with a smile that sent a chill through my entire body. I begged him to stop, explaining that missing even one dose could send my condition spiraling out of control, but he simply shrugged and said the treatments had become a waste of money because I was never going to recover anyway. Before walking away, he calmly admitted that he had already taken my phone, my laptop, and every credit card from my purse, then added that he had changed the security code on the front door so nobody could enter the house unless he allowed it. After the front door slammed shut, complete silence filled the house except for the ticking of the hallway clock and the icy wind rattling the windows, making every minute feel heavier than the one before. The heating system suddenly powered down, the lights went dark, and I realized Ryan had shut off the electricity before leaving, making sure I would spend my final hours trapped inside a freezing house with no way to call for help. Fear slowly gave way to determination, because I refused to let my story end as another forgotten victim of greed, and I forced myself to think through every corner of the house even though my body was growing weaker by the minute. Then I remembered something I had hidden years earlier, an old prepaid emergency phone tucked inside a small zippered pouch beneath a loose floorboard in my bedroom, a habit I developed after dealing with corporate security threats during my early business career. Using every bit of strength I had left, I painfully slid off the bed and crawled across the cold wooden floor inch by inch until my trembling fingers reached the hidden compartment beneath the floorboard. When the tiny phone finally lit up in my hands, tears rolled down my face as I realized hope had not completely abandoned me, and with shaking hands I dialed the one number I had promised myself I would never need unless my life truly depended on it. The phone rang twice before my father answered, and the moment he heard my weak voice he knew something was terribly wrong because we had not spoken in years. I told him everything through tears, and without asking a single unnecessary question, he promised that help was already on the way. Less than 30 minutes later, I heard loud crashing at the front entrance as a private security team forced the locked door open and rushed inside with paramedics. My parents ran into the room behind them, and seeing their faces again gave me the strength to keep fighting. The medical team quickly started emergency treatment before rushing me to a private hospital, where doctors worked through the night to stabilize my condition. As I slowly regained consciousness the next morning, I realized I had survived, but I also made a silent promise that Ryan and everyone who helped him would face the consequences of their betrayal. Over the next 2 weeks, my health improved while my family's legal team quietly investigated everything Ryan had done before leaving the country. Security footage, financial records, and deleted messages revealed that he had been transferring company funds, expecting I would never survive to discover the theft. Meanwhile, Ryan and his family filled social media with smiling vacation photos from Europe, celebrating expensive dinners and luxury hotels while believing they had already won. They had no idea every picture they posted was becoming evidence that would help expose their lies. My father looked at me with complete confidence and said, "Do not rush your revenge because justice is far more powerful when the truth speaks for itself." I smiled for the first time in weeks, knowing that when Ryan finally returned home, the life he thought he had stolen would be waiting with a surprise he could never have imagined. Exactly 1 month later, Ryan unlocked the front door expecting to find an empty house and complete control over my fortune, but instead he was greeted by federal investigators, company attorneys, and police officers waiting quietly in the living room. The smile disappeared from his face as I walked down the staircase, healthy enough to stand on my own, while every secret he had tried to hide was laid out in front of him. The evidence was overwhelming, and within hours Ryan and the relatives who helped him were arrested for fraud, theft, financial crimes, and attempting to abandon me in a life-threatening condition. As I watched them leave in handcuffs, I realized that money can attract dishonest people, but truth always catches up with those driven by greed. The months that followed were filled with healing instead of fear, and I rebuilt both my company and my life with the support of the family who had never stopped loving me. If my story reminds you to value the people who truly care about you and never ignore betrayal, please subscribe to our channel and share this video with your friends and family. We create entertaining and inspiring stories for our viewers, and your support helps us continue making great content for you.